morning, everyone. Tex Homer here with the one and only Ian Boyd. A lot of fans have been asking about you, Ian. They don't know the show schedule, so they think if you're not on like Tuesday or Monday that something happened. Nope, he's just on Wednesdays and Thursdays. But we are going to talk and go really in depth in football. That's the whole point of this show, which I really enjoy. Jacob, good morning. Roaster, good morning as well. Let's take a look at today's itinerary. Okay, so how Texas defended Mississippi State's Veer and shoot, and most importantly, how does this project for OU's offense? And then how is OU winning games? We hear about Sooner Magic. Sometimes they get a little lucky towards the end, but how are they 4-1 right now, even with all the struggles? And then we'll talk Ewers return and what that could possibly mean going forward. All right, Ian. Let's talk Veer and shoot.
Can I give you? Yes. No, I do Monday nights, Wheels and Livers. I'm on Monday nights.
Yeah.
With me, Connor, and is it Nino? Is that how he?
Yeah, you can say it like that's Nino. But yeah, it's Nino. You can say Nino if you want to give it a little Spanish flair.
Okay.
And then Joe. So we were on Monday night. Ian's always on Monday night unless something comes up. He's on Wednesday morning with me. He's also on Thursday morning with Joe and Justin. So that's Ian's schedule. Monday night, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning. And then whatever we end up doing on the weekends or something like that. All right.
Yeah. And Connor, I just heard that Nick Anderson's got a nagging quad, and they tried to get him to go in Tennessee, and it just made it worse.
Yeah. So you're hearing that probably not back for Texas as well. That's going to be.
I don't know. 2 weeks is a while, but those are the worst. Those kinds of injuries.
But those injuries do, yeah. Like whenever you get them nagging and running, I had a little hamstring tweak, and you'll feel good. You'll take a week off, and as soon as you run again, it'll come back. It's remarkable how resilient those injuries are. Sandman, hello to you as well. Sugar Daddy, thank you for the $5. A lot of people equals Sugar Daddy. Yes. Sugar Daddy also awaits your return. All right, Ian, let's talk to Veer and shoot. We talked it a lot last week. We went into like what the actual scheme was in anticipation for Mississippi State. Now we know how Texas played it. But first, let's pull up. You want to pull up that diagram of what you were talking about last week compared to what we actually saw?
If by you pulling up means you pulling up, then absolutely yes.
Yeah. Yep. So this was what you were thinking, and this is from OU last year as well, right?
In this diagram, I'm indicating a sort of aggressiveness from the safeties that Texas safeties did not play with exactly last year against OU. Okay. But in general, yeah, too high quarters coverage. So,
okay. So this is some Veer and shoot stuff, and then let's look at.
Also, I have the this will actually matter in a minute. You notice I have the star, the nickel, like in outside leverage or like straight up head to head on the slot.
Yep.
At the end of last year, Texas started playing this version of quarters where instead of like usually the star is like halfway between the tackle and the slot receiver out in space. And he just like waits. And if they throw, he goes and chases the slot. If they run, he goes and tries to get to the box. In this brand of quarters, you play the nickel more like heads up or outside on the slot. And that free field safety is a little more downhill. And he's actually the guy that's going to get there first if the ball hits the perimeter rather than the star.
Okay.
And he can hit the box quicker too. So basically what you're doing is you get less safety help on anything to the bottom than you would if the nickel was halfway and the free safety was deeper and on the hash. But you get a little more help in the run game top down. And so I thought this might be something they might do just to basically just play man cover. You're playing man coverage and your safeties are helping you contain the run game.
Yeah. And that's one of the huge advantages of quarters, right? You can get your safeties in the run game. You can get 8 or even 9 to the box.
Especially if you do it like this. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's pull up the actual visual. Let's see. This is the too high.
So that's obviously not what they did.
Yeah. So they have a 4-1 triangle on the top of these two receivers. And then they still have a triangle on the bottom too as well.
Yep. And the
But
way they're
clearly-
doing it, go ahead.
I'm saying then Gilbo's tied to the run game here at some level.
Yeah, when the Veer and shoot puts two receivers to both sides of the formation and they have them so wide, they're basically that guy up top near the 30-yard line is Binda, everyone. The one who has a Makuba, the black safety behind him instead of Taft, the white safety.
I can't tell the difference.
Oh, can you not? Okay. Well, I thought maybe that would make it easier, but
No, I'm joking.
I guess y'all don't see race. So
yeah, no, we don't. We're very progressive guys.
yeah, good for you guys.
Yeah.
So Binda in this alignment, you basically turn him into a nickel. That's the advantage. And Binda, that's not.
That's the advantage for OU.
That's and in this case, Mississippi State. So Texas they do not have the safeties in position where they're like on the hash marks and they can get to the ball quickly in the run game.
Yep.
Makuba is basically going to pick up that inside receiver and man coverage. It's basically he's playing off man coverage with a little bit of help inside from the linebacker. And on bottom,
if that number two goes inside in like a slant or something, Binda will be there. But if that number two goes vertical, then it's Makuba all day.
And if he goes out, I think it may also be Makuba. But
I'd have to see the play if they're doing two read or pure quarters here. Do you know?
Right. Yeah. I'm not sure. So the upshot is that your safeties are not going to be big factors in the run game, right? Because Taft is 15 yards off the ball and he's probably playing two read to the bottom. So he needs to be able to play over the top of both of those receivers. And then, or maybe not, but he's far away at any rate. And then Makuba is going to be in man if that inside receiver runs anything. So you have your four guys on the line. They're going to stop. They're going to focus on stopping the run. You have Anthony Hill in the middle. He's going to focus on stopping the run. But you have 6 gaps and 5 dudes.
Right. It's technically unsound. So Binda's going to have to be obsessed with running over to the box as soon as he IDs it. Because
Binda and Gilbo have to get on their horses and show up quick.
Yeah.
So that's
because you have 5 offensive linemen, meaning you have 6 gaps, and we only have 5 run defenders. So technically, this is an unsound run defense. But normally, when it's like that, it's kind of the Iowa State philosophy where they give the illusion of the light box, but it's not actually a light box. And you can also see, where are Binda and Gilbo's eyes? They're very keyed into the run game there.
Yeah, the difference with Iowa State though is that about where that ref is, they'll put like a 220-pound safety.
Yeah.
Who's just downhill.
Yeah.
And so it looks like a light box, and then all of a sudden the running back's getting hit in the hole by someone who's as big as a linebacker, and it's like, where did this guy come from? Yeah, Texas does not have that here.
Yeah, those middle safeties are a lot of fun for Iowa State. Sugar Daddy, real quick. These are my favorite kinds of episodes. Honestly, we just get to talk go really in depth. And we probably lose a lot of fans, but we also gain a lot of fans here because we're not able to go this in depth on most other stuff. It's stressful to watch a team defend the Veer and shoot. Imagine actually being out there trying to defend it. Damn. It's got to feel a little helpless for Binda, right? Like at least Gilbo is like a space player, and Binda's fast. Don't get me wrong, but to just be a linebacker, you're sitting out there like a high school rover, and you're just like, you're basically making an inside linebacker play like a nickel. So that is uncomfortable, and you're paranoid, right? You're obsessed. You got to help out with the run. And then you're also paranoid too that something's going to happen. So they're going to play action at you. You're going to bite. And then that number 2 receiver at the top is going to run that quick slant behind you. I could see it as Binda having to be a little more paranoid there because they can put you in conflict pretty quick.
Yeah, he's like a soldier that's being told to watch a massacre until he gets engaged, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like if you don't get shot at, you're not allowed to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's why I agree. It's got to be a little stressful, especially for the linebackers that this is not their forte. Gilbo, of course, is used to kind of having to play in space, and nickels are used to being tied into both worlds as well, running pass.
So
Go ahead.
there are ways you can make it not stressful, which is this offense is cheating in some ways, right? By having the receivers so far apart, they're taking things off the table for their own offense. And then they're counting on you to still honor those things as if they were going to do them.
Okay.
So like one defensive response is to also cheat and to like dare them to do the things that they don't actually want to do, like run more sophisticated routes or whatever. But Texas chose for the containment. I would call this the containment strategy, where you're like, we're not going to invade Russia. We're just going to try to keep it from expanding.
Yeah.
And
especially you have two edges in the C gaps, and then you have Binda and Gilbo that could theoretically get involved towards the edges there. You are kind of keeping everything inside. But if you do keep everything inside, the flip side is that you just have Anthony Hill. As like, if you contain properly, you just kind of have Anthony Hill there, which is also going to be a little interesting. And we'll talk about Anthony.
Do you want to do it now, or do you want to, or you have it for later?
No, we're good. We can talk about it now if you want to hit his run defense.
So what you have here is you have if they include their quarterback, then they have 6 on 5.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they don't include the quarterback, they have 6 gaps, and you have 5 defenders in the box. So Anthony Hill he appeared to be 2-gapping, or at the very least, he was kind of wait and see to make sure that whatever crease he chose to fill was the one that developed. So he's like waiting to see how things develop with his defensive tackles and then trying to fill the hole late. And it just made him indecisive, and it took away the things that make Anthony Hill special, which are violence and speed and power. And I guarantee you that this was a major influence in Gabe Eichert calling him the worst player in the front 7 was watching him in this game.
Yeah, he didn't have a great game.
It's a tough assignment.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be able to do it, but some people aren't athletic enough to kind of handle that stuff. Anthony Hill will get it. I'll teach him kind of how to do it. But what it was funny is he's like, say that center's climbing up on the double team for whatever zone. You know, Anthony's like taking a step and kind of letting that center dictate the terms of the deal too many times. And I get it. You don't want to overcommit to a gap because if you have a good back, they're just going to jump to the other gap. But the hesitancy was an issue, and the lineman being able to get up on him quickly and kind of nullify him. And that's why they were able to put together part of why they were able to put together that 8-minute super long drive, because we couldn't get our troops there until they were, 4 yards forward. We weren't able to kind of blow anything up.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was trying to read those comments to figure out what people were talking about, but I think I got it. Eichert and Lehman is a fun show if you want to watch. If you have the stomach for hearing OU bias commentary, then they're pretty good.
Yeah, they actually did. I really like their channel. They do a good job. And then, all right, let's see. You want to look at the 3-2 box?
Sure.
It comes about. So then we change it up a little bit here.
This
Still
one,
five guys, but now we have more guys in the second level.
This one is potentially better. So you've got Gilbo up top. You got Benda and Hill in the box. And then you have Trey Moore out here in space on the bottom 30. And he's doing the same thing as Benda. And then the 2 defensive ends, one of them is Vernon Broughton. And then the other one is Barron Sorrell. And they line up in 4 eyes. This is what Todd Orlando always used to do.
Yep.
The advantage of this is that you fill one A gap with the nose tackle.
Mm-hmm.
You fill the other A gap with a linebacker. You fill the 2 B gaps with defensive ends.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have whatever play side, you could fill the outside gap with the linebacker. Or you could fill it late with one of the overhangs, so Trey Moore or Jalen Gilbo. Basically, your angles are a little better.
Yeah.
You're in the 4-1 box, your undefended gap is inside. And so for one of your outside guys, your Benda or your Gilbo to actually get there is completely unrealistic, right? And that's what, so Anthony Hill has to be really smart about not letting any creases develop quickly in the 4-1 box, or else they're just running downhill. And this one, you can take away those downhill lanes and spill the ball outside where your outside guys actually have a chance to run it down. The problem is that Texas doesn't use this very much because Pete Kwiatkowski likes to use his edges to actually set the edge. And Baron Sorrell as a 4-eye is solid, but not exactly like, it's not ideal. He's a little bit small for that.
Right.
And then your linebackers, their reads are different. And so they have to actually be good at it. So this could have been a solution, but Texas doesn't really use it enough to make it work very well in this game.
Yeah. So what he means by spill. So you're going to have your nose. He's going to take, he can either 2-gap in the system, or he can pick an A, and then whatever he picks, the Mike linebacker will pick the opposite of. So that's both A's handled. 4 eyes, both in your B's, and then you have your C gap, which can be another linebacker, and then they can tie in, like you said, Trey Moore or whatever. But the goal is to get the ball to fall off the table. They don't want the ball to be able to fire straight up the gut. They want a running back to have to hesitate, move outside, and by that point, the safeties now can ID it. They know he has the ball, and then they can converge better. So this is also it's not a 3-high safety thing, but if you want to see fun examples of this kind of Iowa State, do this without spilling the ball.
Or this is how Todd Orlando would stop the run from a 3-2-6 dime in 2017 and at times in 2018 or 2019. Is that his ends and Puna Ford or Chris Nelson would spell everything out. And then they had the outside guys could get to the ball. Gary Johnson could run down the ball. It worked pretty good. And it worked pretty good with non-ideal pieces. Like Breckenhager was in there fighting for his life and getting beat within an inch of his life every week.
Yeah.
He was really too small. And Amenahu was, being a good soldier and doing it, even though he wanted to play on the edge. So yeah, it actually worked pretty well for stuff like this. They had some issues at times with other strategies, but
Chad, do yourselves a favor and watch the Eichert and Lehman Oklahoma breakdown episode after the 49-0 game. It's good for the soul. The Schadenfreude after that game, man. I was at that game, and I mean, I felt like I was on the beach. Just being able to lay. There was not a fear that whole day. You knew you weren't going to be like sad on the Ferris wheel after. It was that was enjoyable. All right, guys, real quick. We're using this as a way to be able to project into OU and if we saw anything new or what we should expect. But first, a word from our sponsor.
I'm just going to say, guys, you probably need a fiduciary financial advisor. And I've got the guy for you. His name is David McClellan with Forum Financial. He works broadly and deeply with his clients as a financial life coach. And he should know something about coaching because he won several national championships as a swimmer for the University of Texas. He specializes in financial planning and has contributed numerous articles to Kipling on the topic of retirement tax bombs. So contact David today to be your fiduciary financial planner and schedule a 1-hour consultation to assess your financial situations. The free consultation is available, so just give him a call. The number is 312-933-8823. That's 312-933-8823. His email is also in the description below.
All right. So we saw what Texas defense decided to do versus Mississippi State. We don't really care what they did against Mississippi State. It's more to try to understand PK's reasoning going into facing Oklahoma that runs the same offense, though not as effectively. They don't have the same command over it as Levy did. But kind of what was your analysis here, Ian? Was PK withholding information so he could do something new, or is he just going to kind of try to run it back like he did last year, and he just knows that we have a more senior, a better group of personnel that can execute it better? Kind of what are you thinking?
I have no idea.
Thank you.
So I mean, it's a very similar deal. I think Mississippi State, if we can compare and contrast a little bit, this is probably the episode to do it. Their line is better than Oklahoma's line. Just because they're not devastated by injuries and playing a lot of young guys, but their run blocking is better. When I watched them against Florida, and then I went on the round table, I was like, I was watching them, and they're actually meaningfully better than Oklahoma at running this offense. Having Levy helps too, but their line actually blocks well. I had a point here. So the thing with Oklahoma is that they've been so bad on offense and so predicated on like creating a handful of explosive plays with Hawkins that we'll get to, that it's like if PK just ran the same, if you just ran the same thing back, like the containment strategy, is that a bad idea? Like, is Oklahoma realistically going to consistently execute against that? Like Mississippi State saw that and they're like, okay, we're running it inside 40 times today for 130 yards. And they were only able to do that well enough to score 13 points, right?
Yep.
If Oklahoma faces the same thing, are they realistically going to be able to do any better than that?
So this offense is horribly inconsistent. 127th in the country in success rate, like you said, just being consistent, moving the ball forward. So no, but they're 23rd in the country in explosivity. So exactly like we think. So really, I think a containment strategy works here in that you could just say, look, Hawkins is going to have his 3 plays. He's going to have his fade ball that he gets off. He's going to have an awesome 50-yard run, and they're going to do something else. Can Texas absorb that? And then you're going to be fine. Because there's really 4 or 5 plays a game that OU makes. But other than there's 3 drives a game, you're like, oh, this offense has potential. Every other drive, it's a nightmare.
They're also
the goal would just be limiting.
If they get this look, I don't know if they're going to get 4 or 5 explosive plays.
Yeah.
Like, where are they going to come from? They're going to throw it over the top. It's like Taff is there. The safety is there. Muhammad.
They don't have receivers. They don't have receivers right now.
And you have to beat Muhammad and Barron or Gilbo, which is proven to be difficult. The best way to get an explosive play on this is with if Hawkins creases them on a draw on their light box. So you really, if you show the 4-1, if you're on a quarterback draw on this and you catch him, the defense is in big trouble.
Yeah. Because if those safeties expand with those routes on the outside and they get past Hill, and you saw it versus Auburn, he can run up the middle. So that's where it's tricky because you're out gapped, and now you have a quarterback player as well. So you're fundamentally not sound against the quarterback run in this situation,
and especially on the draw. Hawkins obviously will do that. Dylan Gabriel did a lot of his damage on the draw last year. Mm-hmm. So,
and Hawkins creates his own draws. They don't even have to actually block draw. He's going to turn. He's going to look at that number 2 receiver at the top of the screen, and that the slant's not there because Benda's sitting in the window, and then he's going to run through the center of the defense. That's kind of his MO right now as a young quarterback.
Yep. Then the other thing you worry about is just the same inside runs that Mississippi State had, only maybe more explosive if the Oklahoma back is better, which I don't know if they are.
Hope for Tatum in the future, but I mean, Barnes is all right. Sawchuk, I think, is quick, but I don't know. I'm not obsessed with the running back room.
Yeah. You know who was great was that Tawi Walker guy. There was
who they hated. The only guy that could score for them last year, and they were like, we don't want a walk-on player. It's like, well, he's the only one able to run hard in the red zone, so you should like him.
He was awesome. He was not explosive, so I get that. But he wasn't going to run for 15 yards very often, but he was always going to run for 3 to 5. And you could tell with their tempo, part of what made them so exhausting where they would kept wearing down Texas before the end of halves was having to tackle that dude
He's a bowling ball too, man. Like you're not going to be able to get lower than him. So even if you do make the tackle, he hurts, and he makes you not want to make the tackle again. But I agree, Tawi Walker.
He's at Wisconsin now, which makes sense.
Yeah, actually it does. I didn't even know that, but that makes total sense. And do you think we should play with 6 in the box against the Criminals?
Yeah, I would. Well,
they don't have receiver. Well, this seems like we really respect the Mississippi State's receiving core with Kevin Coleman, Craver, Mosley. That's a real receiving core. And Sark talked about in the presser too. He didn't mention their run game. And so it's almost, and also OU doesn't even have a good run game. So they don't have receivers. They have a young quarterback. Why are we respecting the pass this much versus OU?
Right. Here's going to be the thing is, does Oklahoma play with a tight end, and do they put him in the box?
Yeah, they do. Sharp.
If they do that, well, I mean, they shouldn't in this game.
I mean, when we look at their tendencies later, they have no 10 personnel. They're an 11.
Then people do that, and then it's the Red River shootout, and all of a sudden your tendencies out the window.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right.
They absolutely. If Oklahoma's going to win this game, it's going to be playing 4 wide, or if they use a tight end, flex them out. If you bring that tight end in the box, then Texas can play with. Not only can they play with both linebackers in the box, but they can bring a safety down too.
Yeah.
Because what they were worried about against Mississippi State wasn't so much the deep pass as the perimeter screen. And when Mississippi State would play with their tight end in the box, Texas would not show a ton of respect to their passing game. And they would get Taff or one of the safeties to play very aggressively towards the box. The only reason that their both safeties are out wide is because they need the star and the outside linebacker to be there for the perimeter screen. And if you play your linebackers out wide, you have to have a safety behind them, or else you're going to get burned over the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, if Oklahoma plays like their normal split zone, tight zone garbage, this is going to be a very easy game. And a lot of these veer and shoot problems are not really going to materialize because they suck. But if they change it up and they play 4 wide and they give Hawkins more space, then there's a formula there that could be trouble.
I think that's what you have to do. So good point here too, Steve. They're counting on Hawkins' scrambling ability to create yards, keep the chains moving. So, you do that by 10 personnel, 4 receivers like this, right? And then that way, and then you pray Texas plays a 5-man box and can run it up the middle. But I mean, if we get beat by QB draw all game, not likely. They're not going to call it every time. They're not going to be as dedicated to the run as Mississippi State. Levy was like, I'll run it every time. And coaches say that, but they love to pass. And but I thought Levy was really disciplined there. Let's see. I'm paranoid the OU surprise is going to be a player we thought was injured but shows up 100%. What do y'all think? Yeah. It would have to be Anderson or Burks.
Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
It's not like Roy Williams is on their bench, Yeah. It's not.
And they've had Burks for several games, and it's not like, he's changed the outcome of games. I do like McAnderson, though. I like the size, because other than that, it's like him and Hester are their size for wide receiver. Everybody else is a little speedy guy.
And Anderson could be dangerous, but even if he can get healthy, the dude hasn't played or practiced in like 2 months, right? So
I mean, I think he practiced a little bit but he keeps re-agging that.
Yeah, I don't see it. If that guy were fully healthy, I mean, in the world where Oklahoma won 8 or 9 games this season, that was only happening if Nick Anderson was awesome this year.
Yep.
So when he kept getting this nagging quad thing, it was turn out the lights in Norman, the party's over. Because there was no other way that they were going to make it happen. So Sooner Scoop says Anderson is not playing this year. That is...
that's what I heard.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's what I heard, but I'm not I don't talk about it until another
That's
publication states it. But I heard too there's something going on there.
I just texted my Oklahoma guy again because it's weird that he would just shut it down over a quad, unless it's like, you know,
Yeah.
How long does it take for a quad strain to heal if you like really shut it down?
I have no idea.
Quad strain.
I can become a YouTube medic real quick though. Like when Quinn went down, I knew exactly how oblique injuries worked.
See, I'm seeing 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
This doesn't smell right.
Yeah. I don't know if it's all quad related. But
yeah, well, I wonder now.
Yeah. But anyways, so yeah, I've also heard that Anderson would not be playing, but we'll see. And then so then at that point you have Burks, right? Burks is a good slot. We're not minimizing that, but in today's you can't, one receiver is not enough. Like you saw why Sark was so deadly, right? They had Will Johnson for Michigan. And they're like, what's Texas going to do now? It's like throw to the other 4 NFL receivers. And OU doesn't have that. Okay, you X out Burks. Well, then we're just going to hit this guy. There is no second guy. So if you do X out Burks, you X out Burks. And
it's not. Plus, like these slot receivers that are dangerous, Texas plays a corner over the slot. So
right.
that negates some of it. And then it's very easy to play a safety over the top of a slot. So it's not that outside receivers are where offenses, they are the tip of the spear in a modern offense.
Yeah.
The slot is like a run game.
Well, and also too, just for the fans, the reason why the slot, it's closer to the quarterback. I mean, that's also the reality. It's the easier throw for them most of the time. Sooner Scoop thinks many of these receivers aren't really hurt very much, and it's a money deal. At least that's what they implied. The chat implied that, or the actual mods implied that. Yeah, because that'll be key on if it's the mods implying that or if it's just the people on the board. Smoke screen. If it is a smoke screen, this is a very unified front. Like I've talked to a couple of OU people, different publications, different parts of Sooner World, and I've heard repeatedly the same thing. So unless like Venables set down all the media and said, here's how we're going to trick Texas content creators, there's probably something to it here.
And again, even if Nick Anderson can get back, is he really going to be dangerous coming off that injury? Even if it's healed, he's going to be hesitant. He's going to be out of practice. He may not be in game shape. It's just not. It wouldn't worry me. Should have much bigger fears than that.
Okay, story implied it.
I would like to see the wording.
Yeah.
Not to besmirch our wonderful viewers. Just if we're going to have it on a show, then you don't want to.
Yeah, we don't want any weird breaking news that we're not OU creators. They know better. But yeah, we'll have to see what Eddie and George say. If you guys can, if you guys are on Twitter, just like DM us the link to that thread or something, and then we can go on there and check it out. All right. Cool.
Are your DMs open?
I think so. If not, just reply to one of my tweets or whatever and send me the link that way.
I don't do open DMs.
Yeah, you can't afford it. You talk about rival fans too much. I generally don't get any hate mail, which is lucky, but I'm sure you've had to deal with your fair share of that for a while. Okay. You ready to talk a little Sooner Magic? How they're 4-1?
Yeah. All right. So can you pull up the Living Rent Free in UT? It's a nice name. I had also heard, yes. Andrell Anthony, I think I've heard that. That dude, he keeps getting, like, if coming back from a quad is hard, Andrell Anthony keeps like blowing ligaments, I think.
Yeah. Gentry
Williams, you keep hearing people say that he's like got surgery and he's done on the shoulder. So I think those are right. And then Anderson, we don't know.
Yeah. It's a rough go, man.
Yes. I think Luttrell has done a bad job, but it's also really tough. It's kind of like with Tim Beck, remember, in like 2017 or whatever, where it's like, it seems like you're doing a bad job, but Texas also has no offensive line and no go-to receiver, blah, blah. So
yeah, it's like, well, yeah, if you throw away the coordination, you're like, just present. It's like you have no wide receivers. You have a transfer group of offensive line that most of them were hurt, and I think they've played in 12 different iterations this year on offensive line.
Yeah.
12 different groupings. On top of that, you had a 5-star quarterback that clearly has just like processing issues going on. And then so now you have to start a true freshman and you can't run block. So it's just like how, like literally how are you supposed to be a good offensive coordinator in this circumstance?
Yeah.
Ian.
Maybe.
But their Sooner Magic predates Venables.
Yeah, I got Oklahoma people telling me now. They're like, oh, Sooner Magic has been a thing since Barry Switzer. I don't feel like I've ever heard of it before.
I have. I don't know about Switzer, but definitely, man. I've definitely heard about Sooner Magic.
I still don't really know what it means. I guess it means
this is what it means. Remember when Caleb Williams stole that interception or fumble back from Kansas State? Like literally from his hands or whatever, like down at the bottom of the screen. That's Sooner Magic, where you're like, I've literally never seen that. This is a different kind of luck.
I think Sooner Magic is being the only big-time serious program in a weak conference and then losing in the playoffs when you actually play elite teams every year.
Yeah, but there's something to their luck, man. Like they've gotten out of a lot of weird binds. So that I get why they say Sooner Magic. It's Sooner Magic has been a thing since Barry Switzer, and probable victory due to belief in Sooner Magic. They have had improbable victories. I mean, they do that an odd amount. So it's like I get why they say it. It's not absurd to me. I can get why you start to worship Magic after a little bit.
Texas had Magic when they had Vince Young.
Yeah, but they've done it a bunch. Like that's why
they've had a lot of Vince Youngs.
Yeah, they have. But that's the difference. Like we had Vince who could do Magic, but that was because of Vince. They've had Sooner Magic, like weird situations, because they've had a lot of great quarterbacks and stuff like that. But it's interesting. Like there's a few, like every game, I'm like, how did they have that happen? Homer's right. Any good bounce they get, any lucky thing they feeds into the positive reinforcement, and then they play with the belief that they're going to get the breaks that they need.
What about that time when Dylan Gabriel got a shot to the head the week before the Red River shootout, and then they got shut out 49-zip? Where was the
they don't
Magic on that one?
They don't borrow against the Magic, so they don't take any negative debits to it. It's only the instances of positive Sooner Magic that adds to the belief. But I got to be honest, there is something a little bit weird into it sometimes. There's no magic to that pick six in Auburn. Peyton Thorne just didn't understand that a cover zero blitz that the linebacker will drop into the hot route. But that would be cause for Sooner Magic to the fans that are not big scheme heads.
I don't know if he would be allowed to pull it up, but he did a little 2-minute answer where he explained that interception. That's really good.
Oh, Peyton Thorne.
Yeah, he explains this whole progression on the play, and he's like, we saw that they were in zero. They were showing zero, so we checked our protection one way. I get the snap. I look, and their linebackers engage our dudes like it's actually zero. So then I go and read my receiver. He's beat the corner inside. I let the ball go. And then after engaging our linemen, their guys bailed it back out. And he's like, I've talked about this with my coaches and people important to me. And honestly, I think I would do the same thing 10 times out of 10. Not that it was right, but every read and tell he had.
He is technically correct in saying that, but he's wrong. Because this is common NFL stuff. When you're running zero, what you're doing is trying to force the quarterback into his hot route. Well, what's his hot route? It's always going to be the inside receiver. So Venables calls cover 0, knowing that you're going to force the hot route, the quick inside slant. And then all you do is have him engaged. So Peyton Thorne goes, look, he's engaged. Therefore, I can throw it. And then you drop out and get the interception. But this happens in the NFL all the time. This is not like some like, whoa, Venables is a mastermind type thing. So this is Peyton Thorne being technically correct. But his technical correctness, and he could argue for it in court. He could letter of the law it. But the spirit of the law here, he's wrong.
And offenses have a different toolbox for handling that situation.
Yeah, but it's not a.
You're like you should have used your ratchet wrench, and he's like, Hugh Freeze didn't give me a ratchet wrench. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, well, I agree there. Like, because what's the flip side, right? You want him to be technically wrong and run it into a zero blitz. So I get it. There's not like a plan B there, but to be like, man, good play by OU, it's not that remarkable of a schematic play there. So I get it. Like, what's plan B? Run it into a cover 0 box.
It was.
Also, if they engage and you do run, then they're actually just going to turn it into 0.
It was like many a Brent Venables defensive play call, exceedingly well timed.
Yeah, which I don't understand. I get it, like from being in the press box to be that well timed, but like when you're on the field, like you can see the offense, but you can't see the offense. You don't know totally what's going on. So that's the remarkable stuff, is how well he can time this stuff kind of from the field is also really remarkable.
It's magic.
It's Sooner magic.
It's just, he just knows exactly when to dial up the right thing.
Yeah, but also like logistically, say you are stealing the signs, right?
Okay, thank you.
How do you get it that correct? I mean, you just have to be. I guess you just have to be perfect on your sign stealing op, because it's like
he also, I mean, like you said earlier, he could just say, "Hey, when they're in on his call sheet, it could just say, "Hey, when they're in this look, they like to do this. If you show this, they'll check to this, and then you can." I mean, it's possible he could have anticipated that and done it without sign stealing.
That's what I'm saying, because it's like and like Peyton Thorne, if you watch that game again, he threw that same interception 2 other times. Oh, you just didn't catch it. And so they did that to him. That was the 3rd time that Kip Lewis finally got it. So, and good play by Kip Lewis. But the reality is, too, Peyton Thorne was tempting fate. He did it in the goal line going towards the right, if you're looking at the screen. To the goal line going towards the right. And he did it one other time, but I noticed that, knowing that they were going to pick it later, that Peyton Thorne is just, like we said, he's technically right, but you're not going to win with him when he's doing that technically right stuff. But also, what's the flip side? You're right. I didn't really kind of think of what's the B alternative. So it's got to be a freeze issue there. All right.
You mentioned the play clock was running down, or else they might have checked the trip side to something better.
Yeah, I need to watch his explanation to kind of see what he was thinking. All right, before we do a little more scheme, let's listen to Luxe.
This video is brought to you by Luxe Kitchen and Bath. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook, and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring to life that dream vision of your special home. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team provides full remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today. Or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get a free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's LUXE. Or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Link in the description.
Thank you, LC. You're a good man. All right, let's pull up the Sooner Magic thing. We've been chatting, man. 45 minutes in. We are behind schedule. All right. Let me share this with y'all real quick. Okay. So this is Ian's practical application of how Oklahoma Sooner Magic is winning games. Of course, subscribe to Inside Texas and you can get access to all this stuff and read Ian's analysis that he's dropping pretty much every other day. There's some Interesting article. All right. So your first point is they had a magical schedule so far, right? Let's pull up here. So opponent record versus Temple, they're 1-4. Houston is 1-4. They had a dogfight versus Houston, by the way, and not a Texas Mississippi State dogfight. Like it was down to the wire dogfight.
Yeah.
And then Tulane 3-2. Tulane's a good team. Tennessee, of course, the best team they play and they lose. And then Auburn 2-3. So a little bit of magic there. Not that surprising. And then this is where magic is less likely to occur, or when they will need their most powerful magic, I guess. Remaining schedule: Texas 5th in FEI, South Carolina 29th in FEI, Ole Miss 7th in FEI. They're going to get that main win, no problem. Missouri 23rd, Alabama 3rd, LSU 10th. And so the only team that they played of that caliber, 6, is Tennessee, and that resulted in a loss. So it's only going to get harder from here on out for our brothers across the river. And then this is what's important, and me and Ian were talking about this before the show. Their turnover margin. So the Sooners are currently +8 in turnover margin on the year, averaging 1.6 per game. That's good for 6th in the nation. I'll add to this. That turnover margin also has them 4th in the country in field position. So they've consistently given their offenses short fields in super advantageous situations. Now, this turnover margin would be far larger because if you remember in Tennessee, the defense was handing Jackson Arnold touchdowns and he would just fumble it like as soon as they came back. So this turnover margin, if you get rid of Jackson Arnold not protecting the ball, this is probably like what, a +12, +13 level margin. They're probably the number 1 team in the nation for margin if you get rid of Jackson Arnold doing weird stuff. And so they consistently give their offense a chance, and that's why it's so frustrating for them because they're putting their offense pretty much in the opposing team's red zone, and they're still finding kind of ways to screw it up.
So the interesting thing here, I'm going to do more on this for tomorrow, I think, but Hawkins is not turning the ball over.
Yep.
That's the biggest difference between him and Arnold is that Arnold actually could run, and Arnold is a pretty good runner.
Mm-hmm.
But they were using Arnold to like boost the run game, and he'd just like keep it every now and then or run direct quarterback runs. Hawkins could do that, but Hawkins is like scrambling, and Hawkins can actually move and like break long runs. And Arnold could maybe do that, but a little less dangerous, right?
Yep.
So against Auburn, Oklahoma ran the ball 32 times with Hawkins getting 14 carries, and then Hawkins attempted 15 passes. So I'm gonna chart their run game for tomorrow, I think. But we're pretty sure that most of those runs by Hawkins were just scrambles on passing plays. And definitely the long touchdown run was like a mesh where he like barely read it and he just saw an opening and just took off and ran quick.
Yep.
And so that the upshot of this is that it's easier to avoid turnovers if you're never trying to read and throw the ball. You just keep it right here.
Right.
It's harder to lose it.
Well, he's like I said, he's doing half reads. Like if he sees another color jersey near his wide receiver, he just immediately goes to run.
The problem is that there's a reason that people ask their quarterback to read the field, and they don't ask him to just run around all the time like that, which is that for one, he's going to die.
Right.
If another
he's
is
doing backflips, getting into the end zone, getting hit by 4 guys.
And then it's extremely limiting. Like theoretically, you want your quarterback to read the field so he can distribute the ball to your playmakers. Oklahoma don't care because they don't even have any playmakers anyway.
I was going to say he is the playmaker.
He is the playmaker.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is not sustainable. It should be very possible to cheat this offense and overplay the Hawkins scramble and shut it down. And if you do that, then I guarantee his turnovers will go through the roof if he ever actually had to play quarterback.
Yeah, which he hasn't had to do.
But he hasn't had to, yeah. So it's working.
Yeah, and just watch out for the one bomb he connected versus Auburn. I mean, they're going to throw it over the top a couple times, especially for Texas. So you're going to get used to him scrambling, running around, but just be aware they will throw it up occasionally. But he's, even with that, that's not playing quarterback. That's completing a pass, a deep ball. But as far as like scanning the field, really absorbing what's going on, but also he's a true freshman. I don't expect him to have this level of command. Also a true freshman that wasn't the guy and didn't get starter reps all off season. So it's like,
well, the conspiracy theory is that he was better all off season.
that's what I've heard. That's what I've heard too. But did he get I'm better first team reps?
One guy put it to me. He was like, in part, supporting that theory that this kid was amazing from spring and in fall, and he was like, "Wow, this guy is actually maybe better." But he was like, "But he was doing it against second and third team defense." So,
Right. Yeah. So let me see what here. Read the chat. Honestly, all I was going to do is for Hawkins to twist ankle, and then what they Jackson Arnold's back, baby.
is he?
I don't know what you do in that situation. That's such a PR nightmare. But that's the thing with Hawkins is he's gotta protect himself, because there's one play in the Auburn game where he took these giant hit, like two guys smacked him, and you can't take those hits, man. I get that he's game. The kid has a lot of heart, respect, but you're hurting your team when you're doing that kind of stuff.
And when you leave your feet, as Quinn, I hope, could tell him by now, when you leave your feet and you weigh under 200 pounds, then the defender can control how you go to the ground. And if it's Dallas Turner, he may
Land on you.
Yeah, and then that's where these guys really get hurt.
Yeah,
Jacob, all I want for Christmas is for Casey Thompson to play in the Red River Shootout.
Yeah,
please, just this one thing.
And he's coming back from ACL, right?
I think so.
Man, what's going on over there? All right. So, and then we talk about Hawkins explosives. Let's take a look at these. This is the run, right?
Yep.
Okay. So this is what all the fans keep keying in on correctly. And then let's imagine this versus our 3-2-4-1 style box. It's a little scarier. But what's interesting here is they've actually done this from a fairly condensed formation. You know, we're expecting them to spread it out a lot, but for Veer and Shoot, this is condensed. Let's watch this. There's the mesh. He comes right up the middle.
The call from Auburn on this play is totally baffling to me, because they have no deep safety. It looks like it's like a cover zero to one side and quarters to the other, but the field safety, who's like, I guess, in quarters, is like very shallow, and he ends up or it could be like cover zero with a rat, and the rat just missed the quarterback. Anyway, they did not.
Right. It's a short concept. So like they're being condensed. I get. They just weren't expecting Hawkins to break it and run right up the middle. But I mean, their instincts were there. No one was going deep.
Well, they did not make the mistake of failing to have zone eye safeties on him again. And so in the article, I have his stats. If you scroll down, where he that was a how long was that score? That was a 48-yard touchdown run, right? Yep. So if you scroll down a little bit further, without the long run, Hawkins had 11. Without the long run or the sacks, he had 11 carries for 28 yards. So they controlled him pretty well after this.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I'm not a fan of the argument if like you take away their best play, then they're not as good. Well, it's like, well, yeah, but the best play did happen. But what's interesting about your analysis there is that you're saying this happened early, and therefore after that, once they realized he was a home run threat, they're able to shut it down, and that makes a lot of sense.
I'm not making that argument to say
right.
Hawkins didn't play well, or he didn't get the job done. I'm saying this is what makes him effective, and if you can take away what makes him effective, then he's ineffective.
Yeah. Yeah, and that makes total sense. It will just crack me up, like whenever I'll hear it with like rival fans, like if you take away those 3 touchdowns, Texas can't even pass. It's like, yeah, but they did the 3 touchdowns. You can't But I get what you're saying. This is early in the game where they saw this from Hawkins, and then they said, yeah, we're not letting him do that anymore. And he didn't. All right, let's see here. Then this is
Those are just
to a fault. Here we go. So this is what we're talking about, him taking too many hits and too many serious hits.
This one is just wild.
This is the one I was talking about.
Yeah.
Boom. Yeah.
He's lucky that it went bang, bang.
Right.
Because the energy gets displaced.
Yeah. He wouldn't have just bounced his head off the back of the turf.
If they hit him at the same time, he would have like broken a rib or something.
And then this is where he does the WWE flip in the air. And he did that versus Tennessee as well.
Yeah.
It's crazy. He's got heart, but just, man, just run it in. So, yeah, that's the reality. Hawkins likes to run. He's not able to read multiple concepts. They don't have receivers, even if he was able to read those concepts. And they also haven't given him a functioning run game to protect a young quarterback. So anything I see from Hawkins here, too, I need to evaluate Hawkins under not in a hurricane. And so there's really not much you can do here to even truly – I mean, you can evaluate him throwing, his awareness, that kind of stuff. But the kid's in a pretty tough spot to even show you what he could do to maximize.
He'll look – it'll be interesting to see what he looks like next year if they get that Washington State raid bro in Ben Arbuckle.
Yep.
It'd be like probably look like Kingsbury with Johnny Football at Oklahoma.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. I mean, stylistically and in terms of the intent.
Yeah.
I don't think he's Johnny Football. Johnny Football was magic.
Yeah,
Johnny.
There we go. That was that Aggie magic. All right, so these are just quick play calling tendencies of the offenses. Texas on the left, Oklahoma on the right. We can see that Oklahoma on the right, under all plays section, they are in 11 personnel 65% of the time. And their success rate is not good. If you see the purple's not good. So there's really the only thing that they're pretty good at is actually 21 personnel. And they only run that 8% of the time. And they might be good at it because they run it 8% of the time and you can't prep for it as much.
I would love to see that against Texas.
Yeah,
pack everybody into the box and try to run the ball. That's a great idea, Oklahoma.
Yep. And then they like a little middle of the field close passing concept. So they like to pass outside more than they like to pass between the safeties and like a cover 2 or quarters. So they like the safety of like the phase and the sidelines and the one-on-one matchups, which makes sense, right? For young quarterbacks, it's easier to decipher did he beat the corner or not versus having to look over the middle and there's a bunch of guys. And then let's see. Nothing too crazy. They're a zone blocking team, 71% for OU. And then Texas is really strong. Their relative uses on the left for Texas under 12 personnel run it 41% of the time, but relative usage to other teams, they run it plus 19. So this is what we mean when we're talking pro style. So Texas is 41% of the time, 12 personnel. The other times they're 50%, they're 11 personnel. They haven't run any 10 personnel.
Next week, we'll get into the real matchup of this game, which is Sark offense versus Venables defense.
Yeah, man. That's awesome.
That's where this game is going to be.
Yeah. Particularly the Sark passing offense versus Venables' sketchy secondary right now.
Yep.
It's going to be the matchup of the game. All right. Well, we promised the viewers, we talk a little bit about Quinn's return, what that means. So we'll do it quickly because we're already at an hour. We have Paul waiting for a deep dive. But you buying the hype that Quinn could be rusty, or what's the flip side? Well, Quinn didn't play before OU a couple years ago, and he looked good, but also Quinn looked bad after that. So it's not like Quinn just killed the rest of the season. So kind of where are you at with Quinn's return? The lack of reps an issue? Could be an issue, not an issue? What do you think?
He got some reps this last week, and he's going to get a ton of reps for the next 2 weeks. And I would be shocked if they didn't say, hey, Quinn, we're just going to shut you down. Here, we've loaded up your iPad with Venables defenses, and we're just going to we would saw this like in that first year, like when they would give him extra time to prepare for a big game, he would just dominate. I think that's what we're going to get. I think we're going to get the ultra prepared Quinn that's ready to go. And you know that he's going to be so amped to beat Oklahoma and stick it to Venables after last year.
And his final year before he goes pro.
His final year. He wanted that Michigan game bad. He wants this Oklahoma game bad, and he wants that A&M game bad.
Yeah.
Because you imagine this kid grew up a Texas fan in Texas.
Right.
So these are the games when you're in your backyard throwing the ball around. These are the situations you're imagining yourself in.
Yeah.
All your life. So I think we're going to get the best possible Quinn.
So do I. And like you said, Quinn knew he likely was not playing versus Mississippi State. He definitely knew he wasn't playing versus ULM. So why would you not spend that time to just be grinding out Oklahoma tape? And you know that they're all about disguise, right? They like the actual aggression, but they like the aggression to then actually not be aggressive and drop guys. So all of it's disguise, all of it's interest. How do you think Quinn's going to handle when they actually do send the pressure? Because what Venables likes to do is like send pressure early, and then he's just kind of in your head, and then he can kind of, simulate blitzes and stuff like that and drop out. But you think Quinn's has good command so far this year? I think Michigan does that too. How do you feel about him being able to handle the pressure of Venables?
Fine. They'll have Ezekiel's wheel that they've been saving up. You notice they haven't really run that very much this year.
I have noticed that, yeah.
Oh, it's coming.
Yeah.
They'll have that and some other blitz beating stuff where it's like, you want to blitz? That's great. Can your remaining coverage defenders handle the glance wheel flat and all that? Yeah. Venables may want to do more like coverage this week, especially early.
They have no corners, man. So it's gonna be the safeties, and their nickels got out too. And what are you gonna do? Play the big nickel? All right, go ahead versus Andre Moore. Go ahead.
So I watched Auburn for that because I was like, what on earth are they going to do? They played Woody Washington as the nickel. That's their answer.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
I mean, it's a corner.
Yeah.
But it's also what, a 6-year corner?
Yeah. For him at nickel, I think is good for them. But then it's like now they don't have Gentry Williams or Woody Washington outside.
Right.
So it's going to be tough.
So you wish you had Arch to come in and throw that DeAndre fade, because those outside fades are going to be there all day. It will be tougher to throw over middle of the field. Safeties are solid. Are they going to go 3 high with the Spears Jennings, Bowman combo?
I think they get run over if they do that.
Okay.
Because of I don't think they're big enough up front to play that. And like Texas is going to go 12 personnel, and maybe they'll go big 12 personnel with an extra lineman. And so I don't think so.
Is Ewers coming back too soon? Those kind of injuries can be hard to heal.
No, I think he's fine.
Yeah. I also don't think you can come back too soon in your last season, just for NFL implications. But yeah, anything like that is you can tweak, especially with rotational athletes, right, that are constantly having to turn at the hips. But he should be good.
They got Arch a lot of good reps just in case.
Yeah. We'll do this strange, which is basically a wildcat, but we'll just bring Arch in for the deep balls. Let's come in and throw one, and then he'll go back to the bench. Got to find a way to pick on OU's DBs. Sark, I'm fascinated to watch Sark, what he does versus the secondary, because they're like 60-something in the nation in yards per pass on defense. I keep hearing about this OU defense is elite. They're not statistically elite. They have a really good run defense, like top 10, stuff like that. But their pass defense is nowhere near elite. They are big. They move fast. They're super aggressive. They're a fun defense to watch. And they're a good defense, but they're not a well-rounded defense right now.
They create turnovers.
That's what they do.
That's what has made them elite is the turnover creation.
Yeah, their turnover creation is awesome. And that with their aggression too. I was watching again with Nico where they'd come off the edge and cause those fumbles. That's what makes them special. But as far as like statistically, and two, if you can beat those blitzes, now they're in man and you can score. All right. They let Auburn offense go for nearly 500 yards. Yeah. Peyton Thorne is also not a great quarterback, and he was able to hit a lot of explosive passes on them. All right, Ian, we can't leave Paul hanging. We got to go shoot deep dive.
Yep.
But fans, thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate you guys. Tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m., Joe, Justin, Ian will be on. So make sure you guys tune in for them. And then Friday, we are still going to have Inside the Program. We're figuring out if we're doing roundtable, but this weekend, of course, we don't have a game. So we will not see you guys on a pre or post game or anything like that. But the regular scheduled Monday through Friday show should still be coming. So, Ian, thank you. Fans, thanks for watching. Hook 'em, y'all.